Hi, I'm Ramona from Healing Inspiration, and this video is about uh, there's some things that may come up in a relationship. Maybe these aren't that usual, but it's asking yourself, is your relationship toxic? So just want to mention that every relationship is a reflection of yourself. So if there are things that aren't great in your relationship, it's always a good idea, no matter what, whether it is a toxic relationship or not, to take a look at yourself, take a look at any wounds you may carry. And if there is some toxic behaviors, how are you contributing to that? Not saying that you ever deserve any mistreatment or abuse or anything at all like that. Not saying you deserve it. But so what is unhealed inside of you, or how are you participating in this relationship that says this behavior is okay? Not saying you're saying it's okay, but if you're staying with a relationship where there's toxic behavior, there's something in you that is saying it is okay. And I also want to give a warning. Yes, people recommend that you leave an abusive relationship. Obviously, if you're in danger, your children are in danger, your pets, definitely you want to leave. But I want to ensure that you leave safely, because if there's any abuse at all in a relationship, the likelihood of being murdered raises like crazy at the time you leave the person. So make sure if you do leave a situation that you do it safely. So we know some obvious things within a relationship that make it toxic. Violence of any form, whether it's pushing, scratching, hitting, kicking, pushing a door on you, throwing things around, inadvertently or accidentally hitting you, accidentally on purpose with some other things. Any kind of physical violence, obviously, that means it's a toxic relationship. I don't care how many times they said they're sorry. If they did it once, they will do it again. And I am speaking to you from experience. It's never just one time. And they almost always say they're sorry and they'll never do it again. So never listen. So if at all possible, at the first sign of any physical violence, that's the best time to go. Another thing is, emotional and mental abuse. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about that. That could be signs of emotional and mental abuse. But if you're being called names, if you're being demeaned, put down, made to feel less than, criticized, and I'm not talking about constructive criticism, but just being put down for the point of being put down. That can be emotional and mental abuse, as well as controlling behavior, saying who you can and can't hang out with, what you can and can't do, what you can and can't wear, that, you shouldn't be around this friend, that friend. Maybe, when you're in a healthy relationship, someone may speak to you and let you know their concerns about a situation, but yet you are still free to do what you want to do. Because within a relationship, you have to keep in mind that you should be accepted completely as you are. And they shouldn't be trying to change who you are. And you have to keep that in mind as well, that whatever relationship you get into, look at them at face value. Who are they? Who are they showing you that they are? Whoever that person is that they're showing you that they are, not just in the beginning of a relationship, but also as the relationship progresses, as you get to know them more and better, realize that that is who they are. You need to accept them exactly as they are, not expecting that they're ever going to change who they are in order to be happy in that relationship. And if there are things that make you majorly unhappy, you do discuss them in your relationship and the person can't change and it's not something you can compromise because it just doesn't work for you, then it's something that you need to consider that maybe this just isn't the relationship for you. But never, ever, ever expect someone to be a different person than what they show you they are. My friends and I, in all of our experiences, in any experience I've ever observed, there has not been significant radical change, especially over a short period of time, because real change, even when we change ourselves, it takes a long period of time. And I would have to say 99.999% of the time, someone is not going to change. So if you cannot accept that behavior, then I wouldn't stay in that relationship. And another point, anybody who is in a relationship with another person and you are seeing them on a romantic level or talking to them on a romantic level or have hopes for them in a relationship, just know that they're going to do the same thing to you. That someone who is in a relationship with someone else is not your person. Unless and until they leave that situation and get completely cleared of that situation. But anytime that you engage in a relationship with someone who's already in a relationship, you're putting yourself in a lot of danger through heartache, through difficulty. Shouldn't wait for them to be leaving someone or they promised they would. It doesn't matter. And especially most of the time when they promise they're going to leave their significant other, particularly a spouse, they never do. They might keep you on the side. They might tell you that their wife or significant other is fat or ugly or lazy or treats them like crap or she's a crazy bitch. That's the, primary one. And that's one thing to watch out to for is a man that calls all of their exes crazy. They were all crazy bitches. That's why it didn't work out. Some of them may have had mental illness, but at the same time, you have to think, do they take any responsibility for their actions in the relationship? Do they say they contributed at all? Do they have anything good to say about any of their exes? So that's one of the things you need to look for, how they talk about their exes. And I wouldn't even say that they should have a shining report of all their exes. It's normal to not necessarily like your exes, but if everybody's a crazy bitch, there's a problem. And the problem probably is not with the exes per se, but with your person. So, is your relationship toxic? The first point I have is that if you're asking if your relationship is toxic, if you are wondering if it's toxic, it probably is toxic. Because you really, when you're asking those questions, somewhere deep down that there is toxicity in your relationship, that there's something just not right or unhealthy or something you shouldn't be participating in. So if you're looking for a video like this, or you see a video like this and you're like, oh yeah, is my relationship toxic? Yeah, probably. Because you just know. If you never have to ask, do they love me? Do they want to be with me? If they love you and want to be with you, you'll know. It'll be apparent. It'll be apparent the person loves you. It'll be apparent the person wants to be with you. You shouldn't have to ask that. If you have to ask that, that means no. It should be apparent in their actions, even if they haven't said so in their words. Early on in a relationship, people don't want to necessarily show their whole hand and be like, go all out necessarily. But you should be pretty clear whether or not, someone loves you, for example. So if you're questioning whether or not something is toxic, probably is. Number 2 is you often feel longing in your relationship. So part of this has to do with somehow either physically they're not present or they're not giving you enough communication. If you're at a distance, a long distance relationship or something like that, it does make sense that you would have longing. But in some senses, where you're always waiting for communication, you're always, you don't know when you're going to see them next. You just have no idea what's going to happen next. And you just feel like a longing to be in their presence, but you never know when that's going to happen. Typically, in a healthy and consistent relationship, there's going to be consistent communication. You're not going to be wondering, when are they going to text me back? I mean, sometimes you might have some of that, but not much. It'll just be, oh, yeah, they're working or they're actually busy, because when they're not, they do text me. They want to check in with me. They want to talk to me. They want to see me. They want to go on dates with me. Someone who likes you, even likes you, is going to pursue you, or at least be responsive to you, masculine or feminine. So at least be responsive to you. And I mean, playing hard to get is playing, nevertheless. It's playing a game where people talk about playing games and they don't want to play games. They play them all the time. So that's another topic. But my next point is, point number 3. You feel that whatever you say or do is never good enough for them. So sometimes we do have issues with our own self-esteem and our value and our worth, and maybe we feel intrinsically that we're not good enough. So this is, part of the point of relationships being a reflection of us. But I do want you to notice if someone is complaining about you and complaining about a lot of the stuff you're doing or not doing, and it kind of seems out of left field. And generally you're like, I don't know exactly what you're talking about. Or, things have to be perfect for them for it to be good enough. You're not quite doing it right. They have to correct you on everything you're doing, whatever you're saying. And maybe it's not everything, but you have this, just this sense that you can't do it right or do it good enough for them. So that is a possible sign of a toxic relationship or some toxicity happening in your relationship. Point number 4, you feel like the project in your relationship. There's always something you have to change, always something you have to do, always something you have to prove. You feel like you're being tested, like your trust is being tested. Or do you trust them? Can they trust you? You are under a microscope. What are you doing? Where are you going? All right. And not even in that controlling sense, although this also comes into the area of being controlled. But it's saying there's something wrong with you, and it's also deflecting from the things that possibly they're doing. They make you the problem instead of them having to look at themselves. It could be just a level of insecurity, and it could be a fear that they don't even know they have of looking at themselves. So, like I said, relationships are reflections. So if they are seeing these things in you, the truth is there's probably things in them that are unhealed that they have to look at, see, and heal. But I want to say it is not your job in a relationship to heal another person. Do you support them? Yes. Encourage them? Yes. Do they do that for you? Yes. But to take responsibility for what is there to take responsibility for those things that they need to be responsible for themselves can create a codependent relationship, which is toxic. It is your job to heal yourself. It is their job to heal themselves. It is your job to make you happy. It is their job to make them happy. It's not your job to make them happy. Yes, do you want to make someone happy in a relationship? Yes. But their happiness should not be dependent on it. And your happiness should not be dependent on it. Not to say we don't want to make each other happy in a relationship, because we do. But you are not the primary person who is responsible for their happiness. If they make you responsible for their happiness, that becomes codependency, and vice versa, which is toxic. Next, number 5, lies. I mean, we know this. First of all, sometimes things don't necessarily make sense that people say. But, and I've had it happen to me, where it's like, man, that situation doesn't make sense at all, but it really happened. It's true. The occasional thing like that does happen. But if there's some level of consistency in it, that it's like, okay, your story there, that just doesn't make sense. Or what they're saying in a conversation, this open-hearted conversation, something about it just doesn't make sense. Or that their explanation about things, it doesn't make sense. You know, their stories could cause confusion and I used to have that issue with someone I was with, and everything they said, I was confused. I'm like, what's going on here? And it turned out they were a huge freaking liar. But I've recognized that in other situations. When someone is pretty consistently confusing to you with their explanations or things they're doing, etc., or within your conversations, and it's just not making sense, there could be a level of deception and lying there. And obviously, the foundation of relationship is trust. And trust is not just your responsibility to give it. It's someone else's responsibility to be trustworthy. And one of the major, primary ways of building and earning trust is by being honest. I mean, that's basically where all the games come from, where someone is not being honest. And we all have similar reasons for not being honest. Maybe we're in danger of losing what we have, and so we lie, or we want to appear better than what we are. We want people to like us. But a lie is a lie is a lie. And in the healthiest of relationships, two people are their authentic selves. They can be completely honest with each other and then accept each other as they are. And if you can't do that, there's games, there's toxicity. So this is also an encouragement for you to be honest, to be as honest as possible with yourself and with others. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to disclose everything about yourself and everything about your life to someone you just met. You know, if you don't want to disclose something, say, no, I would prefer to keep that to myself. I mean, you have a right to your privacy. But just to know that one of those big clues that someone's lying to you is it doesn't make sense. And especially on a consistent basis. Like I said, there are instances where things don't make sense, but they may have actually happened that way. And number 6, giving more energy to the relationship than you receive. Are you always texting them first? Are you always calling first? Are you always inviting them on dates first? Are you always going by their house? Are you the one remembering events in your relationship? Do they remember you? Are you the one serving them? Do they serve you? Do you initiate heart-to-heart conversations and they don't? So whatever it is, where you start to feel like I'm doing all the giving and I'm not really receiving anything. Maybe you're giving the affection and you don't feel like they're giving you affection. Maybe you're putting the energy in. You don't feel like they're giving you energy. I mean, this is not always necessarily toxic. Sometimes that happens where there's an unequal balance of energy given to the relationship because of responsibilities and things like that. And it's time to have a conversation so you can understand one another. But oftentimes, and that's where that longing comes in too, where you're in this relationship and you're giving to it and you realize, wow, I'm not getting what I need from this relationship. One, maybe they're not able to provide it. But if they're unable to provide it, but you need it, in a relationship and it's something you really want in a relationship, maybe you need to question whether or not that relationship is for you. So, yeah, if you feel like you're getting crumbs while you're giving your all, and your mental energy, your physical energy, your emotional energy, a relationship most of the time should not drain you of your energy. It should make you feel better. It should feel good. Love feels good. Love should not be painful. Is there ever pain in true love? Yes. But as a general rule and overall in your relationships, it shouldn't be painful. It should make you feel better. There are occasions, we are imperfect people dealing with other imperfect people. There are occasions where it won't feel so good. But you should be able to resolve those issues and get back to the good feeling parts of the relationship. So please like and subscribe and comment if it resonated with you. And once again, I'm Ramona from Healing Inspiration. Thank you and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.